Beneath layers of earth and centuries of silence lie secrets that defy logic, ancient ruins that shouldn't exist, artifacts carved with symbols no one can decipher, skeletons buried in ways no culture ever recorded. These aren't legends. They're real documented discoveries that scientists still can't explain. What knowledge was lost or hidden, and who or what left these mysteries behind? Today we explore the most baffling enigmas that continue to haunt the world of archaeology. Buried for thousands of years in the acidic peat bogs of the Ural Mountains, a colossal wooden figure lay forgotten beneath the surface until its accidental discovery in 1894 shocked the world. Named after the swamp where it was unearthed, the Shigir idol is not just a prehistoric artifact, it is one of the most mysterious and astonishing relics of ancient human culture ever found. Estimated to be at least 10,000 years old and possibly even older, this wooden statue has puzzled scientists for over a century. But beyond its age and abstract carvings, one thing stands out above all: it is made entirely of wood, yet it hasn't rotted. In fact, it remains remarkably intact, defying everything we thought we knew about time decay and ancient craftsmanship. What do you think truly kept this wooden statue from rotting for over 10,000 years? Was it just a natural coincidence? Or did our ancestors understand the environment and materials far better than we ever imagined? Share your thoughts or theories in the comments below. We'd love to hear how you interpret this ancient mystery. The Shigir idol was carved from the trunk of a larch tree, a type of coniferous wood that typically rots within decades when exposed to air and moisture. Yet here it is still standing, after more than 10,000 years, its surface etched with geometric patterns and stylized faces that remain eerily sharp. Under ordinary circumstances, no piece of wood could survive such a long stretch of time. Even the most durable timber would succumb to fungi, insects, and the relentless march of time. So how did this fragile organic sculpture avoid total decomposition? The answer lies not in the craftsmanship alone, but in the peculiar chemistry of its burial site. The Shigir idol was preserved beneath a peat bog, a waterlogged and oxygen-starved environment filled with acidic plant matter. These unique conditions created a kind of natural embalming chamber for the statue, halting microbial activity, slowing decay, and effectively mummifying the wood. Peat bogs have been known to preserve organic materials for centuries, but the preservation of a full wooden monument over 10 millennia is virtually unheard of. This wasn't just a stroke of luck, it was a rare convergence of nature and circumstance that protected one of humanity's earliest artistic expressions from the ravages of time. Even more astonishing, modern CT scanning has revealed that the core of the statue is still structurally sound, with no signs of rot or collapse. The larch tree used to make the idol was already over 150 years old at the time it was carved, meaning the tree itself began growing more than 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, when woolly mammoths still roamed the Eurasian steppe. The fact that ancient humans chose wood, a perishable, fragile medium, as the material for what was likely a sacred or symbolic object, speaks volumes. They could not have known that the peat would preserve their creation for eternity. This suggests either a deep connection to natural materials, or perhaps an urgent ritualistic or cultural reason that compelled them to carve quickly, using what was immediately available. The Shigir idol is not a crude piece of carving. Despite its immense age, the figure stands over 2.8 meters tall and is believed to have once been over 5 meters before parts of it were lost. It is the tallest known wooden sculpture of the ancient world. Etched along its front and sides are a series of enigmatic motifs, zigzag lines, chevrons, lozenges, and stylized faces. Some scientists interpret these symbols as proto-writing or early codes of communication far older than the earliest Sumerian cuneiform or Egyptian hieroglyphs. Unlike stone carvings that dominate most of prehistoric art, the use of wood in this context shows a level of sophistication rarely attributed to Mesolithic cultures. It challenges our assumptions about the intelligent spirituality and artistic capabilities of prehistoric people. If they were capable of creating such a detailed and symbolic monument from organic material, what else have we lost to time? Simply because it rotted away. Dating the Shigir idol wasn't just an archaeological milestone, it was a shock that shook the very foundations of our understanding of art history and symbolic thinking in early humans. Initial radiocarbon tests in the 1990s suggested the statue was around 9,500 years old. But in 2018, a new round of analyses stunned the scientific community. The wood used to carve the idol was dated to 11,600 years ago, meaning it was created just after the end of the last ice age. This makes the Shigir idol more than twice as old as the Great Pyramid of Giza and 7,000 years older than Stonehenge, a time gap significant enough to rewrite our entire narrative about the cultural development of humanity. The Shigir idol emerged in a time when humans were still nomadic hunter-gatherers with no agriculture, no permanent settlements. According to previous logic, this era was considered primitive, a time when symbolic or artistic expression was thought to be impossible. Yet the Shigir idol, with its monumental size, intricate carvings, and clear symbolic intent, defies that assumption completely. It proves that abstract thought, ritual practices, and even organized belief systems could have existed long before people learned to farm or build cities. The Shigir idol is not merely an ancient statue, it is a spiritual imprint from a pre-literate era, a fossil of the early human mind, frozen in time and delivering a powerful message to us today. Imagination and symbolic thought did not emerge with civilization. They have been with us all along, even when we lived deep in the forests among wild beasts. The Shigir idol is a gateway to a long-forgotten world, a world where people had no writing, no cities, not even domesticated crops yet, were capable of creating a work of astonishing symbolic depth. We do not know who carved this statue. We cannot say for certain what it represents: a deity, a guardian spirit, a ritual map, or a cosmic symbol. But one thing is clear: the people who created the Shigir idol viewed the world through the lens of symbolic thought, and they invested time, perhaps even a lifetime, into engraving meaning into matter, using tools and imagination far beyond what we once believed they possessed. The fact that a wooden artifact, a fragile, perishable material, has survived to this day is a powerful reminder of the lost treasures of prehistory. For every object like the Shigir idol that endures there, may be thousands made of wood, leather, or fiber that have vanished, taking with them stories we will never hear. The Shigir idol is therefore more than an artifact. It is a living message from a time before writing, before organized religion, before cities. It reminds us of one essential truth: the human imagination and the need to believe did not begin with civilization. They have always been there, quietly alive, in the ancient forests, carved into wood, waiting to be found. The Shigir idol forces us to reconsider what we think we know about early humans. Not only were they physically capable of great craftsmanship, they were mentally capable of abstraction, symbolism, and belief. And in one of the greatest ironies of archaeological history, they chose wood, ephemeral, soft, mortal wood, as their messenger, and yet somehow it survived. Do you believe there are ancient stone walls so old? No one knows how they were built. No blueprints, no tools left behind, no clear signs of human hands, just massive stones fitted together so tightly that not even a razor blade can slip between them. High in the rugged Andes Mountains of Peru, three ancient sites, Machu Picchu Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo, guard a mystery that has puzzled historians and engineers for centuries. How did a civilization with no iron tools, no wheels, and no modern machines construct structures with such mind-boggling precision that even 21st century engineers are left in awe? These walls aren't just impressive, they are works of obsessive perfection. Multi-ton stones were carved, shaped, tilted, and placed together as if assembling a mechanical puzzle from another world. No mortar, no cement, no adhesives, and not a single visible gap. Every surface is smooth, cold, and utterly free of tool marks we recognize. Could this be the legacy of a lost technology, or perhaps a forgotten chapter of history where human beings once pushed the limits of what's possible in ways we can no longer comprehend? So, what do you think really happened here? Did the Inca possess a technique that modern science has yet to rediscover? Or is it simply a feat of unparalleled craftsmanship and patience? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Whether you believe in scientific explanations or have a more radical theory, your perspective could be part of solving this enduring mystery. At Sacsayhuaman, the massive stone fortress perched high above the Cusco Plateau, visitors are left in awe by the sheer scale and precision of its construction. There is no mortar between the stones, no evidence of nails, hooks, or any kind of adhesive. And yet these blocks, some over 4 meters tall and weighing up to 100 tons, have remained standing for over 5 centuries, enduring the passage of time, harsh weather, and countless powerful earthquakes that have rocked the Andes. This is no accident. Each stone appears to have been cut with near-perfect precision, with every edge curve and protrusion fitting flawlessly into the neighboring blocks. The joints are not only tight, they form a shock-absorbing structure that has allowed the entire site to remain stable for generations. What's truly astonishing is that all of this geometric precision seems to have been achieved without any modern tools, no computers, no simulation software, and that makes this engineering feat all the more mysterious. What astonishes archaeologists is not just the size of the stones, but their completely irregular shapes. Unlike the standard square or rectangular blocks used in conventional brickwork, the stones at Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo were carved with varying numbers of sides, sometimes up to 12 or 14, with many featuring curved, warped, or sharply angled surfaces. Even more strangely, no two stones are exactly alike, yet they all fit together with absolute precision, like pieces of an enormous three-dimensional puzzle, where even the slightest miscalculation could compromise the entire structure. And yet these walls have stood firm for hundreds of years. This suggests that the Inca must have mastered the techniques of measuring, shaping, and adjusting stone to an almost supernatural degree, despite leaving behind no known tools capable of performing such feats. One of the greatest mysteries that has puzzled archaeologists for decades is this: what did the Inca use to cut and smooth those massive stone blocks? According to all existing archaeological evidence, the Inca had no access to iron, steel, or any kind of hard metal tools capable of working with stone. Their toolkit consisted of stone tools, soft copper wood, and rope materials that seem utterly powerless against granite blocks weighing tens of tons. So how could they have created surfaces as smooth as glass and joints that were flawlessly curved and seamless as if cut by a modern laser, all without leaving behind any trace of tool marks, No saw cuts, no chisel lines, no tooth marks, no rough edges or burrs, only cold, polished, eerily perfect stone surfaces, as if the rock had once been in a molten state and cast into its final shape. Researchers have proposed many theories, yet none have proven fully convincing. Some suggest the Inca used softer stones to grind harder ones, but this would have been extremely time-consuming and unlikely to yield such precision. Others propose they used sand and water as abrasives, but that still doesn't explain how they created 12-sided stones that interlocked with flawless accuracy. A few even speculate that they heated the stone with fire to cause it to crack, yet no signs of scorching or thermal fractures have ever been found at the sites. A more daring theory suggests that the Inca may have used a plant-based compound to temporarily soften the stone, perhaps a resin derived from Amazonian plants, turning the rock into a clay-like state for shaping before letting it harden. While this idea appears in folklore and some minor experimental studies, there is still no solid scientific evidence to support it. What's truly baffling is that even with the help of electron microscopes, laser scanners, and advanced 3D imaging, scientists still cannot identify any marks that indicate cutting tools were used. No drag marks, no scratches, just silky smooth seams between colossal blocks, leaving us to wonder, could this be the trace of a long-lost technology, one that has completely vanished from human memory? The existence of these razor-blade-fit stone structures is not only astonishing, it raises a profound question. Could this be the remnant of a lost technology, forgotten, erased, or deliberately ignored? If the Inca truly relied only on stone rope and soft copper, then their skill and technical thinking far surpassed what we typically expect from ancient civilizations. But if they once used a technique that we no longer understand, then why has all evidence of it completely vanished? Could it have been a form of knowledge passed down only orally and eventually lost after the Inca Empire fell to the Spanish? Not only remarkable for their beauty and precision, the razor-blade-fit stone walls also possess extraordinary earthquake resistance. Thanks to their irregular polygonal design, the stones disperse seismic forces in multiple directions, allowing the entire structure to absorb shock without collapsing. While modern concrete buildings in Cusco have repeatedly crumbled during earthquakes, Inca stone walls have remained intact without a single crack, as if they were built to last forever. Even with modern technology like laser cutters, 5-axis CNC machines, and advanced 3D design software, recreating the Inca stone walls is still considered extremely difficult and costly. It's not just the massive size of the stones, but their irregular, non-repeating shapes that must fit together with perfect precision. As one NASA engineer once admitted, cutting a 50-ton stone with 12 complex curved faces that interlock perfectly, that's a nightmare for any mechanical engineer. And so the final question remains. Are we staring at evidence of a long-lost skill? Or is there something modern science still isn't humble enough to admit? Sacsayhuaman Machu Picchu and Ollantaytambo may not just be historical sites. They might be massive stone libraries preserving ancient knowledge that's patiently waiting to be rediscovered. On a fateful morning in 1922, under the scorching Egyptian sun, British archaeologist Howard Carter unlocked a gateway into a world that had slept undisturbed for over 3 millennia, the nearly intact tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. Inside, the glittering gold of more than 5,000 treasures left the world breathless. But among the golden statues, crowns, jeweled rings, and ivory ornaments lay a small, seemingly modest object, a dagger sheathed in intricately patterned leather, its blade gleaming with a cold, silvery sheen. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing more than a ceremonial weapon. But when modern scientists examined it more closely, they were stunned. The blade was not made from any earthly metal, it was forged from a meteorite, a fragment that had fallen from space. And from that moment on, questions began to emerge. How could the ancient Egyptians, at a time when iron was still considered a metal of the gods, not only possess, but also skillfully shape a blade made from extraterrestrial material? Could this be just another royal treasure? Or is it the surviving proof of a forgotten technology, one far ahead of its time? What do you think about this discovery? Was it simply a lucky treasure, crafted from a fallen piece of sky? Or is it proof that the ancient Egyptians possessed a level of technology we still don't fully understand today? Could there be forgotten knowledge, buried by time itself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Every idea might be a missing piece in solving this ancient mystery. Modern analysis using X-ray fluorescence XRF revealed that Tutankhamun's dagger blade contains high levels of iron, Fe nickel Ni, and cobalt Co, with nickel concentrations reaching 10.8%, a ratio typically found only in iron meteorites. Remarkably, this type of alloy could not have been produced by artificial smelting techniques during the Bronze Age, a period when the ancient Egyptians had yet to discover how to extract or refine iron from ore. The presence of this rare extraterrestrial metal indicates that the blade was not forged from Earth-based iron, but was instead crafted from a meteorite collected after falling from the sky. In ancient texts, the Egyptians referred to this material as iron from the sky, suggesting that they may have recognized its sacred and otherworldly origin thousands of years before modern science confirmed it. Around 1330 BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, much of the world was still in the Bronze Age. Iron was not only rare, it was considered sacred, a material belonging to the gods, rather than for everyday use. The technology to smelt iron from raw ore had only just begun to emerge about 500 years later in the region of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, and even then, it had not yet reached Egypt. In that context, the discovery of an iron dagger, not just its existence, but its exquisite craftsmanship, sharpness, and polished shine, is a historical paradox. How could the ancient Egyptians have worked with such a hard and rare material as meteoritic iron when they had not yet developed the necessary metallurgical techniques? What stunned scientists even more was the remarkable quality of the blade, its smooth surface, sharp edge, perfectly straight form, and total lack of corrosion or deformation after more than 3,000 years underground. These traits suggest that the blade was shaped using highly sophisticated techniques, possibly cold working, a method of shaping metal without melting it, which requires deep understanding of the material's properties and precise manual skill. Cold working high nickel iron like that found in meteorites is extremely difficult even with modern tools. Yet somehow, an ancient craftsman managed to achieve it. This raises a flood of questions among researchers. Could a nearby civilization with superior metallurgical knowledge have shared their methods with Egypt? Or did the ancient Egyptians once possess an understanding of how to process meteorite iron, only to lose that knowledge over time? An even more intriguing theory suggests that Egypt's royal artisans may have held secret sacred knowledge on how to tame the sky iron, not through smelting, but through elite hand-forging techniques passed down through generations. Tutankhamun's meteoritic dagger was far more than a weapon. It was a sacred symbol of cosmic power. The hilt was crafted from pure gold, intricately carved and inlaid with precious stones and colored glass. The sheath was adorned with divine motifs, such as lotus flowers, feathers, and depictions of deities, all closely associated with rebirth and royal authority in ancient Egyptian belief. In their worldview, meteorites were not merely rare metals, they carried the breath of the sky, regarded as materials sent by the gods. To craft and bury such an object with the pharaoh was not just a display of wealth, but a ritual of spiritual protection, meant to safeguard the king's soul on its journey to the afterlife. At the same time, it affirmed his right to rule as a divine gift from the stars. Tutankhamun ascended the throne at just 9 years old and died as a teenager, leaving behind a short reign filled with mystery. Yet it is the meteoritic dagger buried with him that truly forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about ancient technology. It not only challenges the assumption that the Egyptians had no knowledge of iron, but also opens the door to astonishing possibilities. Could they have inherited esoteric metallurgical knowledge from a long-lost civilization? Or was it a gift from an external power, such as the Hittites or Mesopotamians cultures that may have once learned to work with meteorites? And the most important and unsettling question of all, have we underestimated the technological capabilities and intelligence of ancient civilizations? Though it has lain buried beneath the earth for over 300 years, Tutankhamun's dagger still retains a near-miraculous shine, not only from its extraterrestrial metal, but from the light of knowledge it reflects back at us. A small object buried with a young king, yet powerful enough to challenge our entire modern understanding of the past. It forces us to ask, were ancient civilizations truly as ancient as we believe? And deeper still, could there have been knowledge once held by humankind, only to be swept away by time and forgotten? While most eyes focus on pyramids or military conquests, it is this humble artifact, the dagger, that stands as a quiet bridge between Earth and the cosmos, between history and the possibilities we've yet to imagine. An old ceramic jar, a corroded copper tube, a rusted iron rod. At first glance, nothing remarkable. But when combined, they can generate electricity. Yes, electricity, from a device that is over 2,000 years old. You heard that right. Buried beneath the dry soil on the outskirts of Baghdad, archaeologists unearthed something many believe to be an ancient power source, something that shouldn't have existed at that time. The Baghdad battery has not only puzzled scientists, but also challenges everything we thought we knew about the history of technology. How could an ancient civilization have figured out how to build something that mirrors a modern electrochemical battery? What did they use it for? And why are there no written records of it in any ancient texts? This isn't just an archaeological artifact. It is an unsolved mystery, a silent question resting in a museum, waiting for someone curious enough to trace the clues buried by time for 2 millennia. Join us as we explore the Baghdad Battery, an ancient device that may have lit up a chapter of history we've never even read. What do you think about this strange discovery? Was the Baghdad Battery truly an ancient power source or just a coincidental design? Which theory do you lean toward? Electroplating religious rituals, medical therapy, or something no one has imagined yet? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's unravel this 2,000-year-old mystery together. In the 1930s, during an archaeological excavation near Qujut Rabua on the outskirts of Baghdad, Iraq, researchers uncovered an object that appeared deceptively simple, a small ceramic jar about 13 to tall. However, upon closer inspection, they discovered that inside the jar was a thin copper cylinder sealed at the bottom with bitumen. Inside the copper tube was an iron rod now heavily corroded with age. At first glance, the structure might seem incidental, but detailed analysis revealed that it closely resembled a modern electrochemical battery. What makes this find even more intriguing is that it was uncovered in a region once ruled by the Parthian Empire a flourishing, yet still largely mysterious, ancient civilization. The emergence of such a battery-like design in this historical context raises profound questions. Could this be evidence that the Parthians had discovered how to generate electricity thousands of years before modern science was born? When researchers conducted experiments with the jar, they poured mild acidic solutions, such as vinegar or lemon juice, inside. The results were astonishing. The device was capable of generating a voltage ranging from 0.5 to nearly 1 volt, enough to qualify as a small battery. This led to a bold hypothesis. If the structure was intentionally designed, then ancient people might have understood how to generate electricity thousands of years before the formal development of electrical science. To this day, what makes the Baghdad battery so famous and controversial is not just its resemblance to a modern battery, but the fact that no one knows exactly what it was used for. Although its structure contains all the necessary components to generate an electric current, the device's true function remains one of archaeology's most puzzling mysteries. Over the decades, scholars have proposed a wide range of theories, from reasonable to bizarre, but none have been definitively confirmed. The most frequently mentioned hypothesis is that it was used for electroplating. Some scientists believe the Parthians may have used the battery to coat metal objects with gold or silver by applying a weak electric current. In theory, electroplating is fully possible, with a voltage of around 1 volt. However, the problem lies in the lack of concrete evidence that electroplating techniques were known in this region. No wires, electrodes, or supporting tools have ever been found. Moreover, none of the excavated metal artifacts show signs typical of electrochemical plating, making this theory mechanically plausible but archaeologically weak. Another theory suggests that the object might have been an ancient medical device, similar to how the Romans or Greeks used electric fish or mild electric shocks for healing purposes. Using electricity to stimulate muscles, relieve pain, or improve circulation is a practice still applied in modern medicine. However, no ancient Parthian medical texts mention the use of electricity, and there's no archaeological evidence connecting the device to any kind of medical context. Thus, this idea remains speculative and lacks a solid foundation. One of the more intriguing and harder to dismiss theories is that the device was used in religious or ritual practices. In many ancient cultures, natural phenomena such as lightning, magnetism, or flashes of light were often associated with divine power. If a priest could produce a small spark or slight electric shock using this device, it might have been perceived as a manifestation of divine will. From an ancient spiritual perspective, even a minor electric reaction could have been considered a miracle. Yet again, there's a lack of direct archaeological evidence, such as ritual texts, illustrations, or temple remains, explicitly linking the device to religious usage. Finally, some conservative scholars argue that the object was merely a container for documents or valuable materials, and that the metal parts inside were coincidental. They suggest it may have been used to hold rolled parchments, while the bitumen seal served to protect the contents from moisture. However, this theory fails to explain why the iron rod shows corrosion typical of acid exposure, or why the container needed to be sealed in a way consistent with holding liquid. In summary, no theory is convincing enough to eliminate the others, and this ambiguity is what makes the Baghdad battery one of the most fascinating archaeological enigmas. Its design is just modern enough to baffle scientists, yet it lacks any supporting evidence to clearly define its purpose. It's precisely this gap between form and function that has turned this small ceramic jar into a symbol of a possible lost knowledge buried by time. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, one fact is undeniable. The Baghdad battery resembles a modern battery in striking detail. It includes a positive terminal, the iron rod, a negative terminal, the copper tube, a container for an electrolyte solution, an insulating seal bitumen. Such a setup can indeed produce an electric current. The question is, did the ancients know this, or was the design simply accidental, serving a different unknown purpose? Like the ancient Egyptian carvings that resemble light bulbs, or the precisely carved stones in Peru that evoke industrial tools, the Baghdad battery is an out-of-place artifact. Many believe it's evidence that ancient people may have accessed advanced knowledge which was later lost due to war disaster or the collapse of civilizations. Today, the Baghdad battery is seen as a symbol of what we still don't understand about our ancestors. It fuels imagination, inspires new research, and reminds us that the history of science might not be as linear as we assume. Knowledge may have once existed only to fade away, leaving behind faint clues like this mysterious ceramic jar. The Baghdad battery is more than an ancient object. It's a question that hasn't yet been answered. It forces us to reconsider what we think of as modern knowledge. Whether it's evidence of forgotten ancient technology or a coincidence of design, its existence continues to challenge the intellect of the modern world. It all began with a storm dive and an accident. In 1901, a team of sponge divers battling rough seas off the coast of Antikythera, Greece, made an unexpected discovery. Beneath the waves, tangled in the remains of an ancient shipwreck, long forgotten by time, they found marble statues, amphorae, and something far stranger. Not treasure, not weapons, but a corroded, misshapen mass of metal and wood barely recognizable. At first glance, it looked like nothing but junk. But inside that eroded shell was something no one could have imagined, a mechanical device more sophisticated than anything seen for over 1,000 years. No one knew what it was. For decades, it lay quietly in a museum, gathering dust. Until the 1950s, when X-ray scans revealed the truth, gears, dozens of them finely crafted, precisely arranged, and clearly made with intent. Not art, not decoration, but a machine. And not just any machine, a computer built over 2,000 years ago. If you were the first person to discover that rusty chunk of metal, what would you do? Would you recognize it as something important or dismiss it as ocean junk washed ashore? And what do you think about the idea that a computer could have been built over 2,000 years ago? Share your first impression in the comments below. Let's start with the most mind-blowing aspect, the design of the Antikythera mechanism. Many now believe it was the world's first analog computer, a device designed not to compute in ones and zeros, but to model the heavens through the motion of bronze gears. Dating from around 100 to 200 BCE, this machine was centuries, perhaps a millennium, ahead of anything comparable. Inside its structure are over 30 bronze gears, all hand-cut with precision. These gears weren't random or decorative. They were mathematically calculated and interconnected to track the movements of celestial bodies, including the sun, the moon, and possibly the 5 known planets of the ancient world. There were dials, pointers, and inscriptions. Turn a handle, and the gears would rotate to simulate the sky. Turn it forward, and it would predict future eclipses. Turn it backward, and it would recreate the night sky of the past. In essence, this was a mechanical time machine. This was a manual calculator of cosmic cycles, built using an advanced understanding of gear ratios, planetary motion, and timekeeping. It wasn't decorative, it was functional, and it should not have existed, at least according to everything we thought we knew about ancient engineering. One of the most astonishing aspects of the Antikythera mechanism is its level of mechanical craftsmanship. The gears were not only handmade, they were cut with incredible precision, comparable to what we'd expect from modern machine tools, which were long believed to be inventions of the industrial age. Many of the gears have perfectly spaced triangular teeth with consistent diameter and alignment. Some gear assemblies were even stacked vertically, enabling differential motion, a technique still used today in modern car transmissions. Even more remarkably, the builder accounted for the irregular elliptical orbit of the Moon, using a clever feature known as a pin and slot mechanism. This design allowed for variable rotation speed, a remarkably sophisticated function, requiring deep knowledge of both astronomy and mechanics. This leads to a profound question: who built this device and how? If such technology existed in ancient Greece, then why are there no traces of similar machines? Was this the lost pinnacle of an advanced tradition of mechanical engineering, or the one-off masterpiece of a lone genius, someone whose vision reached far beyond their time? The Antikythera mechanism is not just a mechanical marvel, it is also a multi-layered astronomical calendar reflecting an astonishing understanding of cosmic time cycles. One of its most important features is the Metonic calendar, a 19-year cycle that synchronizes the solar and lunar calendars, forming the basis for complex timekeeping systems. In addition, it also models the Saros cycle, an 18-year period used to predict solar and lunar eclipses with remarkable accuracy down to the specific month. On the back of the device, several dials display the timing of eclipses, clearly distinguishing the type of event partial total, and even include Greek annotations indicating colors and astrological meanings, showing that the mechanism was not only a scientific tool, but also served religious and mystical purposes. Most fascinating of all, one dial tracked the cycle of the ancient Olympic Games, rotating every 4 years, a strong indication that this device was deeply intertwined with the political, cultural, and ceremonial life of ancient Greek society, far beyond a simple scientific calculator. When the Roman ship carrying the Antikythera mechanism sank into the sea in the 1st century BCE, it wasn't just a single artifact that was lost. An entire body of mechanical and astronomical knowledge vanished with it. For nearly 2,000 years afterward, no similar device ever appeared, and no written record mentions such technology, making the rediscovery of this machine a haunting silence in the history of engineering. This raises a profound question: where is the rest? If this was the product of a long-standing technical tradition, then where are the blueprints, texts, or traces of the workshops that created it? Some scholars believe this is the last surviving artifact from a forgotten age of high technology, while others argue it could be the lone masterpiece of a single ancient genius, someone who inherited Babylonian astronomy, Greek mathematics, and possessed a mind centuries ahead of their time. Thanks to advanced technologies such as X-ray tomography, 3D modeling, and digital simulation, modern scientists have been able to see through the corroded layers and reconstruct the internal structure of the Antikythera mechanism. What they discovered went far beyond expectations. Planetary indicators for Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn appear to have existed modeled using ancient epicyclic orbits, a remarkably complex way of understanding planetary motion. This suggests that the device was not only capable of modeling time, but could also replicate the retrograde motion of the planets, requiring a sophisticated epicyclic gear system, unlike anything seen in other devices of the ancient world. However, over 2/3 of the mechanism is still missing, and with every new discovery, more unanswered questions emerge. To this day, the true scope and purpose of the machine remain one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of ancient science. The Antikythera mechanism isn't just old, it's revolutionary. It doesn't just hint at intelligence, it screams of lost mastery. It proves that ancient minds were not only capable of complex thought, but of building machines that visualized the cosmos. Machines that didn't reappear for over 1,000 years. This device defies the clean narrative of human progress. It suggests that we have reached great heights before, and perhaps fallen from them, forgotten them, and relearned them centuries later. In the end, the Antikythera mechanism is more than a tool. It's a symbol of ancient brilliance, a reminder that somewhere deep in our past, human ingenuity may have burned much brighter than we dare to imagine. Could the ancient Egyptians have seen the universe through a lens? It may sound impossible, but a growing theory is puzzling archaeologists and historians alike. Statues over 4,000 years old in Egypt, with strangely lifelike gleaming eyes, may be hiding a technological secret far ahead of their time. These are not just masterpieces of stone carving. They might be evidence that the Egyptians knew how to craft and use magnifying lenses, perhaps even an early form of the magnifying glass or telescope. If this is true, our entire understanding of ancient technology and humanity's ability to observe the cosmos might have to be rewritten. And it all starts with the mysterious eyes of an ancient statue. What do you think about this theory? Were those crystal eyes merely a stunning work of art? Or could they actually be evidence that the ancient Egyptians crafted lenses and understood how to magnify images thousands of years ago? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. One of the most astonishing and widely discussed examples is the statue of Prince Rahotep and his wife Nofret, currently displayed at the Cairo Museum. Carved from limestone more than 4,500 years ago, these statues are not only impressive for their intricate facial details, but are particularly striking because of their incredibly lifelike eyes. The eyes gleam, seemingly reflecting light, with irises colored naturally, and even creating a sense of depth similar to living eyes. Researchers have discovered that the eyes of the statues were not carved from a single piece of stone, but were actually assembled from multiple layers of different materials, including volcanic crystal white quartz and even polished copper, placed behind the transparent layer to create reflective effects. The iris was meticulously hand-painted beneath a clear crystal layer, while the cornea was simulated using a dome-shaped lens. This complex construction goes far beyond mere decoration. It suggests that the ancient Egyptians weren't just trying to make the eyes look lifelike. They may have understood how to manipulate light, create depth, and enhance visual perception using transparent layers. In other words, they were applying the principles of optics. Could this be the earliest sign that they had knowledge of magnifying lenses? Some antiquities experts have made a surprising claim. The eyes of the Rahotep statue are not merely finely crafted artistic details, but actually resemble a miniature optical system. Upon closer inspection, the outermost layer of the eye is made from a convex crystal lens that allows light to pass through and slightly magnifies the image beneath, creating the eerie effect of the statue's eyes staring at the viewer. A visual illusion strikingly similar to the mechanism used in modern dolls' eyes, yet it existed more than 4,000 years ago. This raises a fundamental question. How could an ancient civilization, not known to possess knowledge of light refraction, have designed such a complex structure? Was this simply a result of artistic brilliance, or did the ancient Egyptians actually have practical knowledge of light behavior and lens making, even if they didn't express it mathematically like later civilizations? If so, then the idea that they may have crafted magnifying glasses or even rudimentary stargazing devices is no longer far-fetched. In addition to statues with complex eye structures, Many archaeological sites in ancient Egypt have uncovered transparent spherical stones, originally believed to be decorative items or protective amulets. However, some modern researchers have re-examined them through an optical lens and discovered something surprising. When light passes through many of these stones, produce a magnifying effect similar to handheld magnifying glasses with low power. In practical experiments, some of these stones were even used to read tiny hieroglyphic inscriptions, and the results showed that the details became significantly clearer. This opens up an intriguing theory. Could the ancient Egyptians have used these magic stones as visual aids, perhaps in medicine, fine craftsmanship, or even stargazing? If so, it would be compelling evidence that knowledge of lenses may have existed thousands of years earlier than previously believed. If we accept the possibility that the Egyptians understood lenses, then a more astonishing implication follows. Could they have built a primitive version of the telescope? The ancient Egyptians are known for their precise astronomical knowledge. From predicting the Nile's flooding seasons, tracking the cycle of Sirius, to aligning pyramids with celestial constellations. Some scholars propose that if the Egyptians could craft magnifying lenses, they may well have been able to create a simple star viewer by aligning two handcrafted lenses at the proper distance, much like a rudimentary Galilean telescope. However, no telescope-like artifact has ever been recovered from Egyptian archaeological sites, so this theory, while fascinating, remains speculative. Although the theory of ancient Egyptian lenses is fascinating, many archaeologists and historians strongly oppose it, arguing that it is merely an exaggeration. According to them, the lifelike eyes of statues, such as those of Rahotep and Nofret, are in fact the result of masterful sculpting techniques, not evidence that the Egyptians understood optics. They emphasize that in order to craft a true lens capable of focusing light, several advanced technical factors are required: high-purity materials, precise grinding and polishing techniques, and most importantly, knowledge of light refraction, none of which have ever been found in any ancient Egyptian texts or documents. Furthermore, analysis of surviving tools shows that the Egyptians primarily worked with copperstone and wood, with no evidence of manufacturing or using glass lenses or optical instruments like those developed in later Roman or medieval civilizations. Although no clear physical evidence of lenses has been found in ancient Egypt, supporters of the Egyptian lens theory argue that this does not mean they never existed. They point out that materials such as crystal glass or handcrafted lenses from antiquity are extremely fragile and prone to erosion or decay over time, especially in harsh environmental conditions and outside the sealed preservation of tombs. Therefore, the absence of intact artifacts cannot be considered definitive proof of non-existence. History has witnessed many ancient inventions once deemed impossible until physical evidence finally emerged. A prime example is the Antikythera mechanism from ancient Greece, a remarkably sophisticated astronomical calculator that was once thought to be fantasy until it was successfully reconstructed and confirmed as real. The theory that the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge of lenses remains controversial. Yet the lifelike crystal eyes embedded in millennia-old statues challenge our assumptions about ancient intellect. They prompt us to ask, are we underestimating the ingenuity of the past simply because they left no written instructions? These statues, with their reflective, depth-rich and optically structured eyes, still seem to watch us from the distant past, as if to say, there are things you've never imagined. Deep within an ancient quarry in South Africa, as layers of billion-year-old rock were being excavated, no one discovered fossils or treasure, but instead something far more unsettling: small metallic spheres, perfectly round, yet hiding a strangeness that defied explanation. No one expected that buried inside stone, formed 2.8 billion years ago, there would be objects with shapes almost perfectly symmetrical, complete with evenly spaced grooves around their surfaces as if they had been machined. Most astonishing of all, some of these spheres were said to be so precisely balanced that even the laws of physics seem to fall silent. They don't glow, they don't move. But it is this eerie stillness, this flawless balance, that sparked one of the most persistent scientific and archaeological controversies of the past several decades. Who or what created these spheres long before complex life even existed on Earth, and why do they possess a level of balance that even modern engineering struggles to achieve? If you discovered an object that could perfectly balance itself buried inside 2.8 billion-year-old rock, what would you think? A miracle of nature? A buried relic of an ancient civilization? Or something even more mysterious? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know, do you side with the scientists or with the seekers of the unknown? Deep within the soft layers of pyrophyllite rock in South Africa, formed between 2.8 and 3 billion years ago, during an era when Earth was still shrouded in primordial darkness and multicellular life had yet to exist, miners uncovered objects that seemingly shouldn't exist, the Klerksdorp metal spheres, small in size, ranging from just a few millimeters to a few centimeters in diameter. They initially resemble simple marbles. But upon closer inspection, something strange becomes clear. Many are nearly perfect spheres, some slightly elliptical, and most notably, they feature concentric grooves that run evenly around their surfaces, etched with a precision that mirrors modern machining. Their surfaces are dark matte, and when touched, they feel dense and solid, as though they are not hollow at all. Some broken specimens reveal internal structures that are fibrous or honeycomb-like, deepening the mystery further. What puzzles scientists is not just the shape or composition, but the timing. Who or what could have created objects with such seemingly manufactured appearance at a time when complex life had not even emerged on Earth? Are these rare geological anomalies or forgotten evidence of a civilization beyond recorded history? That question has lingered unanswered for decades. The most astonishing aspect and the focal point of ongoing controversy surrounding the Klerksdorp spheres is not their shape or composition, but rather a physical phenomenon that seems to defy natural laws, the near-perfect balance exhibited by some of these spheres. According to an unofficial, yet widely circulated report from the 1970s, one of the specimens displayed at the Klerksdorp Museum of Science was placed on a slightly inclined sheet of glass. Surprisingly, instead of rolling down like any ordinary round object, the sphere remained completely motionless. No spinning, no sliding, no wobbling, as if it had somehow locked itself in place. Upon closer inspection, it was discovered that the sphere's center of mass was nearly perfectly aligned with its geometric center, allowing gravitational force to distribute evenly, an extremely rare phenomenon even in modern industrial manufacturing. In the field of mechanical engineering, producing a ball with an eccentricity of less than 0.01 millimeter level required for high-precision instruments demands advanced technology and rigorous quality control. So how could an object, believed to have formed nearly 3 billion years ago, possibly achieve such astonishing precision? And it wasn't just a one-off anomaly. Several other spheres also displayed uniform rotational axes, highly symmetrical shapes, and an unusually stable ability to remain balanced. While not all of them were flawless, the percentage of spheres reaching such a high degree of symmetry is far beyond what is known in any natural geological phenomenon. This has led many fringe researchers to argue that the Klerksdorp spheres cannot be mere products of chance, but are more likely the result of an intentional process, perhaps even one involving advanced technique or artificial selection. If this is true, then we may be confronting an artifact not only impossibly ancient, but one that directly challenges our current understanding of nature's capabilities and the very history of technological evolution on Earth. Since the 1980s, the mainstream geological community has provided a reasonable explanation. The Klerksdorp spheres are actually concretions that is naturally formed, mineral nodules created when minerals like hematite or pyrite precipitate in stable geological environments over millions of years. The grooves around their surfaces, they argue, are merely byproducts of mineral separation due to pressure changes or erosion from groundwater. However, skeptics are not easily convinced. They point out that the consistent symmetry of the grooves, the uniform roundness of the spheres, and the near-perfect balance observed in some specimens are all extremely unlikely to occur randomly in nature, especially when such features repeat across multiple samples. Some spheres even exhibit a steady rotational axis, behaving like a motionless gyroscope, a property never seen in known natural concretions. Because of this, several fringe theories have been proposed. Some believe these are technological remnants of a forgotten prehistoric civilization, while bolder hypotheses suggest they may be extraterrestrial artifacts buried during ancient cosmic events. This divide between science and mystery continues unresolved to this day. On the internet, the Klerksdorp spheres have become a widely circulated mystery, featured in countless videos, documentaries, and speculative blogs. Some enthusiasts claim the spheres are hidden proof of ancient intelligence, going as far as suggesting they were energy tools or prehistoric data storage devices. Within academic circles, however, most scientists maintain that there is no solid evidence to support the claim that these are artificially made artifacts. Yet, even among skeptics, there is quiet acknowledgement. The unusual symmetry and balance of some spheres remains insufficiently explained by current geological models. To this day, the Klerksdorp spheres remain an unsolved mystery. Are they purely natural, coincidentally possessing machine-like precision, or are they subtle remnants of something that existed long before recorded history began? Whatever the answer may be, the impossible balance observed in some of these spheres continues to shine as the most extraordinary aspect of the enigma. In a world where the Earth was still barren and lifeless, who or what left behind such flawless traces?